What's up, everybody? We're back again with another reaction to some more political news. So this is an interview with John McGuirk, and he is the CEO of Gript. Now, I react to Gript a lot, guys, so shout out to Gript. Much love to John, much love to Ben. They monetized my video, so I appreciate that a lot, guys. But anyways, this was a podcast he did about a few days ago, yesterday, and he's a founder and editor of the largest independent media outlet in Ireland. And he basically gives his 3 predictions for Ireland in 2024. This one should be super interesting. I know a lot of people are predicting like craziness in 2024. The month has just ended, guys. It's January 28th, 29th. So the whole next 11 months will be very, very critical into how the country will be leading and what will be happening in the country. So let's get it, guys. We're going to see his predictions. I'll give my predictions at the end as well. And let's get it.
I think one of your interesting predictions from one of your articles I read recently was kind of going through some of your predictions for 2024. You had these globally, you had these in Ireland as well. Like some of them, they were spread out across the world. But definitely, it kind of felt like the year in a way where not so much like the cat was out of the bag in a sense, but definitely where you see, I think, not so much people rocking the boat, but definitely people not fully falling in line, where people are saying, right, I don't think we like massively agree 100% with everything that the government is looking at.
And that's a good thing, guys. You should always be looking for, your own point of views and to be able to critically analyze stuff and critique stuff in a good way, right?
The government kind of would purport about some of the issues going on in Ireland. I think one of the predictions you had there, which you just touched on, was that the hate speech bill is a piece of legislation that you're not a fan of, that I wouldn't be a fan of either. And you were kind of saying that it won't pass. I'd be interested to go into why you think that will be so.
That's interesting, because I thought it was definitely going to get passed, guys.
It's an interesting one, and I might, of course, be wrong. I've not got a perfect record of predicting things, but I think for anyone who's outside of Ireland listening to this, it's important to understand that this is, much like the United States and a lot of other countries around the world, it's a big year for elections in Ireland. We have local and European elections, and we are likely to have a general election before the end of the year. If not before the end of this year, then very early by law, we must have it next year. And we have a government that is under political pressure on a range of fronts in terms of the supply of housing. There's a wide perception in the country that crime is out of control. There has been, like a lot of other Western countries, significant pressures on the cost of living, huge fuel price increases, heating increases, electricity increases, and an opposition that is very close to being in pole position to win the next election. And therefore, I think it becomes a question of how you use your political capital in the run into those elections. In Ireland, we have seen, it is very unusual, and I think this has to be, can't be underlined enough how different we are from other democracies in how unusual it is for members of the governing party to break with the government. So obviously, if you look at the UK or Australia or most other Westminster model democracies, it's very common for there to be rebellions on the government side. If you look at the US Congress, very common for there to be rebellions. In Ireland, it almost never happens.
Which is whack, guys. Which is whack. You need to be able to actually stand up for yourself. I don't know what's going on up in government, guys. I'm going to run for election one day, guys. Don't you worry, man. And
what we have seen with the hate speech bill is actually a brewing rebellion. We've had one of the government...
It's about damn time, guys.
...leaders in the Senate, which is our upper house, basically saying she can't support it in its current form. We've had multiple TDs who voted for it at one point, now saying they're reconsidering voting for it on the government side. And we've also had the main opposition party, which assented to its initial passage through the first stage of the legislation, now signalling effectively that they can't vote for it either. All of which has driven the political cost of pushing this thing through up dramatically.
Ooh, good. And drive it up even more.
When you add to that it is not a piece of legislation with what you could call broad popular support. It's not an economic piece of legislation. It doesn't give people any money. It doesn't reduce their taxes. It doesn't put money in their pockets.
Yep.
It takes away something from the public. It takes away rights.
Every single time they enact a new law, guys, it's taking away our freedoms. Freedom comes first always, guys.
And its most enthusiastic supporters tend to be journalists, people working in sort of NGOs and lobby groups around hate and the rise of the far right and so on. It doesn't have a particularly electorally strong support base either. So I think it's one of those ones where when I say it won't pass, I don't mean that the government will turn around one day and say, right, we're dropping this idea. I think it will die a slow death of delay. until we get to a general election, and then it might be brought back. I think the political costs, or perhaps to be more precise, the political opportunity costs of spending a month or a month and a half trying to ram this thing through when you can be focused on things that are more electorally relevant to the survival of your own backbenchers and local councillors. I would be surprised if the government invested that time. I might be entirely wrong. Maybe they will do it, but if they do it, I think it would be deeply unwise, which is why I'm predicting that they might make one sensible decision this year.
One sensible decision this year for sure. Yeah, I think there one other prediction which I think does play into that, which is that there is an opposition which could be in pole position to potentially usurp the coalition that we have now. I think one that's kind of gaining popularity, and that is potentially a bit malleable, in terms of their opinions with previous opinions that they may have had, is of course Sinn Féin. And I think that was one of the predictions where you made, but you kind of said, well, this is already slightly began, where they've kind of began to go to the right a little bit in terms of their policy on immigration. In terms of the political decision for them to do that, do you see them like massively changing their stance there? Do you think it'll be a slow and gradual process? I wonder how Sinn Féin will kind of play things this year in that respect.
They're in a very interesting position, because again, if you look across the Western world at sort of other democracies in a comparable position, Sinn Féin are actually, and Irish people don't often think about it like this because we don't see other democracies, but they're actually quite a weak opposition electorally heading into the election. We have a government that is deeply unpopular. All the polling suggests its approval ratings are in the 20s, 30s at most.
Yeah, I mean, I think to get elected, I think Leo Varadkar got like 40,000 votes. Jesus, I could get 40,000 comments. I could get 40,000 likes on a video, you know what I mean? Or 40,000 views. But I could definitely get 40,000 likes on a video someday if it was a big video. If I really, it's not even that many votes, guys. It's crazy.
And this is a main opposition party that hasn't really cracked 33% of the vote. If you look, the UK Labour Party, for example, sitting on 48% of the vote in some polls, there's a huge comparison. There's a huge contrast. And I think one of the reasons for that is that Sinn Féin have what you might call a middle-class ceiling that they've yet to crack. And that is obviously that there are a lot of voters out there, and you see it in some of the focus grouping that I've seen that some parties have conducted, and they brief you on it and so on. One of the problems they have is that there are a lot of votes that are sitting with the government because they don't want to take that step of voting for Sinn Féin yet. A lot of sort of middle-class votes, South Dublin votes, affluent constituencies where people don't want to vote for Sinn Féin because they believe it will be an endorsement of the provisional IRA campaign. That doesn't matter to maybe 40% of the electorate, but there's a big chunk of people to whom it still matters, which is artificially propping the government up a little bit. Now, Sinn Féin need to grow their vote in order to get into government, and it seems to me that their opportunities to grow their vote on the left have kind of run out of road. There's very little left-wing vote still for them to cannibalise. I mean, the Labour Party, which was the traditional Irish party of the left, has been decimated and may lose all its seats. The Green Party is in government at the moment and is on course to lose a lot of seats.
The Green Party is the worst party that ever existed.
Leaves two options: the Social Democrats, who are sitting on about 3 or 4%.
Actually, hold that thought. The Social Democrats are the worst party to ever exist.
And People Before Profit, who are...
Hold on, I gotta bite my tongue again, guys. People Before Profit are the worst party to ever exist. Jesus.
The ultra hard left, whose votes aren't going anywhere because if you're voting for them, there's no alternative pure enough. So Sinn Féin's opportunity to grow the vote on the left has kind of shrunk, which means where is there a pool of votes that Sinn Féin can pull from to bring them from that 30-odd% up to closer to 40%? The answer:
you can vote for county gains democracy, guys. We gotta have rigorous workout programs. Make me Surgeon General for the whole country. That would be the best country. We would be the fittest country in the world, guys. It's
sitting with a lot of independent TDs and independent candidates who have been very vocal on this immigration issue, particularly at a local level. And so I thought, in terms of my prediction maybe coming true, I thought it was very interesting in Roscrea over the weekend, in County Tipperary, where there is a big local immigration issue. It was one of their TDs, Martin Brown, who was standing on the back of a lorry saying, look, we've been really hard done by this immigration issue, and the town has been abused and brutalised, and we need a fairer deal. And that is a departure. That is Sinn Féin TDs, MPs, for those who aren't familiar with the term, standing up and saying, we think immigration is an issue. So I think that pivot has already begun to happen. Now, what's interesting is it's starting to happen. It's happening much more at a local level than a national level. And Sinn Féin seem to be trying to play this game where if they're giving interviews in a national newspaper or on a national broadcaster, they will sound much more cosmopolitan and liberal and warm and open to immigration and skeptical of sort of anti-immigration sentiment. That's when they're talking to sort of ABC1, upper class, affluent voters. And then at the much more local level, when they're knocking on doors, when they're talking to local radio, when they're in constituencies where this is an issue, they're playing the, oh, well, we're being treated unfairly card, you know. So I think there is a shift underway. How far that goes, I don't know. I think there is a deep body of sort of what you might call progressive opinion in Sinn Féin that would rebel if it were to go too far. But I think they're definitely shifting a little bit. And I think we'll continue as an election approaches to do that.
Yeah, we're going to find out.
Yeah, that's a very interesting, almost barbell strategy in a way. It's almost like someone putting a bit of their net worth into some useless crypto coins and then most of it into the stock market. You know, it's very stable place. It's an interesting barbell.
Alright guys, don't know who this Connor Sunderland is, but shout out to him for letting me use his video. Hopefully he doesn't pull it down. But yeah, really cool guys. Go subscribe to Connor Sunderland. Don't know who he is, but he's a founder. He lives in the Ireland. I thought he lived in. Nope, he lives in the UAE, where I was born actually. So yeah, guys, pretty cool. Like, definitely a very, very cool, very, very cool aspect that he said that it wouldn't get past the hate speech bill, because that's obviously huge in Ireland for rappers, music, artists in general. Definitely, hopefully it doesn't get passed. Everybody will be voting against that one. Let me know what you all think. I love you guys all. Stay free, guys. Oh, that's gonna be my new catchphrase at the end of every. Stay free. I'll see you guys then, man. Peace.